For the first time this year, as they hope to get things roaring once again against the Lions at US Bank Stadium on Sunday. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Vikings Live, along with Ron Johnson and Courtney Cronin. I'm Hobie Artigue. Don Mitchell and Paul Allen will join us in just a bit. But guys, just when you thought the season was going to be taking a downturn, kind of resetting, the Vikings go out, get a win in Green Bay. What do you think of this team's kind of trajectory as we now reach the midway point?
Well, they're 2-5, right? So they just have a lot of work to do. But their schedule this second half of the season is incredibly favorable. And I'm not saying that you project, okay, they're going to go 4-0 against a Lions team and a Chicago team they still have to face twice, because both of those teams have shown that they are kind of on the downcline here at the second part of the season. But if there's any way for this team to make the playoffs run, I think that they have a schedule that sets them up perfectly to kind of back their way in.
Yeah, for me, 6-5, that has to be your target number. You have to find a way to win these next 4 games. If you look at who they're playing, like Courtney said, it's set up favorably in their favor to win these games. So you just have to understand the Lions are beatable, and then the Cowboys, of course, are beatable. And then the Bears, that's the one, but they are struggling, as we've seen as well, because they're considering getting rid of GMs. They don't know what quarterback they should play.
They don't have an offense.
Correct. So yeah, this is a stretch where, I mean, and we're not going to go back, but they could, if they beat the Falcons and some of those other teams, we could be having a totally different season right now.
All we know right now is that Dalvin Cook is putting together some incredible performances. I think we've said that a few times this season, with a 4-touchdown game in Green Bay. And after what we saw against the Packers, guys, you have to think that the Vikings' hopes, they really do hinge this year on his health / his performances from here on out.
Yeah, I said a pitch count, and clearly that wasn't necessary. I mean, I don't know what Sugarman's doing in that room, but those donuts are something. It's something's working. And so, yeah, he has to stay healthy. I mean, you can't run play action without the run game, and that's what Dalvin Cook gives you. And then when you look at the defense, it keeps them off the field so plays like this don't happen. Because when Dalvin Cook is going, the clock is draining, and they were right in that game the whole time with the Packers.
Yeah, and they had 2 possessions there in the first half, Hobie. Both teams did. That's kind of an anomaly. I remember I talked to Garrett Bradbury about that on Monday, and when you have these 6+ minute drives, that really is a nice benefit to your offense. Dalvin Cook isn't going to rush 30 times every single game or have 226 yards from scrimmage every single time, but I think when he's healthy, he is the best running back in the NFL, bar none. And so if you can ride that as long as you can, you're going to win games. And like we've said all along, run the offense through Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins can be secondary to that, because that's probably what's going to help you long term and down the road winning some of these games in the back half of the season.
And anytime you can control the clock, that always is going to help your team and your offense as a whole. But here's a look at what Dalvin's done so far this season, leading the league in rushing touchdowns by 2. He has 10 right now. He's also second in the league in rushing yards per game, only behind Derrick Henry. He also leads the NFL with first down runs as well. But Mike Zimmer also said he wants this team to be run first, especially after what we saw last weekend. No surprise whenever they have a performance like that. But guys, that also begs the question, what does that mean, too, for the passing game? An aspect of this offense that has weapons, Ron, like Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who have really stepped up in the early part of the year.
Well, honestly, I'm going to go back to the 49ers philosophy. They got to the Super Bowl by running the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo just had to do just enough with Kittle and, you know, some of those receivers. You look at the Vikings, they're set up similar where they can get there with the run game. They don't have the plethora of backs like the 49ers had, but they do have a guy in Cook who can get it done, in Madison as well. Now, when you have to throw to Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, you have 2 really good receivers. And so I just wouldn't ask too much of Kirk Cousins, and definitely run first, because we saw what happened in the Falcons game when they passed first.
Yeah, and we know, like, one of the reasons that they ran the ball so effectively and really taking kind of that responsibility off Kirk last week, Hobie, is because it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds at Lambeau Field. They're not going to have those elements this weekend, so I wouldn't necessarily anticipate it's going to be a carbon copy same game plan, even though you are going against a pretty bad run defense, so it would be advantageous for them to get Dalvin Cook going and keep him going. But I think Ron's right, and I wrote an article about this today on ESPN.com, that their key to success here I don't really know, there's not a really easy way to say it, is to take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands. Don't put too much on him. That's hard to sometimes fathom, because he's a $96 million quarterback from 2020 to 2022. You're paying the guy a lot of money to not have the responsibility of winning games on his shoulders. But when you have a playmaker like Dalvin Cook, you paid him too, that's who the offense has got to run through. And I think with Mike Zimmer, the way that he wants to play football here, control the clock with time of possession, run the ball effectively. And in this year specifically, you want to keep your defense off the field on those final drives, which we've seen the game come down to even in Green Bay with that final 56 seconds. Nobody on the sideline was calm thinking that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to pull this off. So trying to keep your defense off the field, well, what are you doing on the offensive side? You're probably trying to keep the offense churning and running, converting first downs all the time, and that's going to come from the run game.
And you bring up Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings defense, they gave up yards to he and the Packers offense, but they only held Green Bay to 22 points. That was their second lowest output of the season, Green Bay. The defensive backfield, it's still a mess right now with injuries, but they played especially well, Ron, when a big play was needed. What clicked, in your opinion, in that game against the Packers that needs to be progressed upon moving forward?
Well, I'm going to just go for one play. You saw they were playing some kind of trap man. It looked like man, and then they flipped. And that's what clicked. I think you saw Gladney switch off on the guy and passed him on to the next DB. He took the first inside guy. That's just having communication where in the past they were both on the same guy and then one guy was wide open. So I think they're just communication's better.
Yeah, and I mean with Eric Kendricks too, Hobie, I think teams are not throwing in his direction anymore because they see how good he is in coverage. And I know that one play that's going to be, seared into my brain for the rest of this season is when he's tracking down the field with Devontae Adams. It's not often that a linebacker is getting lined up with a number one receiver, but he can handle that, and I think that honestly, that's going to mitigate some of your issues on the back end when you have all these DB injuries, being able to rely on a player like that who's, as Adam Zimmer told me today, is playing the best Mike linebacker in the NFL.
Well, as for Dalvin Cook, the chef, he's been the recipe for success this season, hoping to do the same against Detroit on Sunday, where there will also be some former Vikings at the table, so to speak. Dawn Mitchell joins us now with more on that. Hey, Dawn.
You know what, Hobie? We all know that Dalvin shows his appreciation by handing the ball off to the guys that are blocking for him to Spike. He says the offensive line doesn't get to have that feeling of scoring a touchdown, so he wants them to have that for helping him get in there. 4 trips to the house will earn you NFC Offensive Player of the Week honors, but Dalvin Cook knows who shares the success and shared the rock with them a few times in Green Bay. The offensive line continues to improve every week.
I think the biggest thing is this will be 4 weeks in a row now. We had the same guys on the field. So I think we're playing better together as a group. And, hopefully that continues. Ezra stepped in and done a really good job.
And across the field, Adrian Peterson once again gets to face his old club. Former teammates like Adam Thielen are looking forward to seeing both he and Everson Griffin now reunited on the Lions.
It'll definitely be great to see them. Have a lot of respect for both those guys. I got along really well with both of them. And thankful for them as teammates and as people. So, always good to see former teammates, but I'm sure they'll have an extra little juice when they're playing against us, wanting to, take it to us a little bit.
We all know the average lifespan of great backs in this league and carry the ball a lot, and he has surpassed that about twice, so it's extremely impressive to see.
It will be the first time they faced Griffin in another uniform. And co-defensive coordinator Andre Patterson, who's been like a father to him, knows it will be different and yet still special.
I'm excited to see him on Sunday. When they kick the ball off, I hope he doesn't play great against us. And then I hope he plays his tail off in every other game after that. So hopefully he'll be a part of my life forever.
Such is the life of an NFL coach and star player. And Hobie, just like Adam said, both of them are going to bring the juice because they're going to be back in U.S. Bank Stadium too, without fans, albeit, but they're going to be back. Back to you.
Oh, yes. Yes, they will, Dawn. And today has been quite an exciting one. We'll get to that in just a bit. The Vikings, as we mentioned at the top of the show, had a tough start to the season. At this point, 4 of their first 6 opponents are above 500. That includes 2 games against the Packers. But when you look at what's to come, many more winnable games in the next 6 opponents. The only 2 teams above 500 right now are Tampa Bay and the Bears, a team that's now lost back-to-back. But first up, though, is the Lions, and the Vikings will face Everson Griffin this week after the Lions traded for the former Viking, getting him from Dallas. And earlier this week, Mike Zimmer called Griffin a good player, and that's something Griffin apparently had a little bit of an issue with. Take a listen.
I miss Zimmer. So when Zimmer said that about that, I'm a good player. All right, we're gonna see who's a good player on Sunday. All right, that's what I got for him. They're gonna put some respect on my name. He gonna put respect on my name. That's all I'm saying. Like he just wasn't a good coach to me. He was a great coach. He helped me improve. He helped me grow. So I don't ever talk bad about people. So for him to call me a good player, all right, I got something for him on Sunday.
Can Sunday just get here already? I'm really excited for it after just hearing that soundbite. You two, what do you make of those words from Everson Griffen getting ready to face his former team for the first time now?
Yeah, so the Vikings, when they did their last training camp in Mankato, the entire staff wore these shirts that said, "Good is the enemy of great." So I think that Everson Griffen might have that shirt and might want to pull that one out as he goes into US Bank Stadium this week. Look, like, I honestly think he took it more of a slight. Griffen had been here for 10 seasons, obviously played some of his best football for 6 seasons with Mike Zimmer, made 4 Pro Bowls during that same span. I'm sure he took it as, well, you know, put some respect on my name. I'm a great player. You're a great coach to me, but Zim's going to downplay that. Zim's never going to go out of his way to compliment anybody unless his name's Aaron Rodgers. Like, yeah. Especially when you're playing him this week. And I think that got under Everson Griffen's skin. Obviously, it's been an emotional ride for him with free agency, going to Dallas when he had a chance to come back here, and then obviously kind of surprise getting traded to the Lions. So the situation that he's in right now, I think he wants multiple sacks this weekend. Definitely keep an eye out for Everson at US Bank Stadium.
Ron, what do you expect to see from number 98 now?
I'm just waiting now. I can't wait because I just had a vision of like Birdman with the glasses on the Breakfast Club talking about put some respect on my name. Like he was hot.
Yes,
he is hot right now with Zim. That is hilarious.
Another question right now, is Matthew Stafford going to play after he went to the COVID-19 list yesterday? Right now, guys, quickly, what type of effect will it have on the Vikings, Ron, having to prepare for possibly multiple QBs?
Well, last time they had to play against Chase Daniels, it
didn't turn out too good.
So let's hope we get David Blau. But no, I mean, Matthew Stafford, we know what he is, but if he's out, I think this is in the Vikings' favor this time because Chase Daniels is not going to surprise anybody.
Yeah, no, they didn't play well when they played Chase Daniel last year in Chicago, nor did they play well when they played Matt Moore in Kansas City. This team does not play well against backup quarterbacks for whatever reason, but the Lions are 0-8 since they were 0-8 last year in the games they didn't have Matthew Stafford, and really since he's been drafted in 2009, they're not good with their backup quarterbacks.
All right, coming up next is the Players Spotlight. Paul Allen, he catches up one-on-one with punter Britton Colquitt. That's coming up after the break here on Vikings Live.
Brought to you by Miller Lite and Luther Auto.
Well, the legs of Dalvin Cook kept the clock rolling for the Vikings in Green Bay last week, but not to be forgotten, the foot of Britton Colquitt, pinning the Packers deep and flipping the field to help the Vikings come out victorious. Paul Allen has more with the Vikings punter in this week's Player Spotlight.
Right on, Hobie, one of my very favorites. He is Britton Colquitt. Some call him Skullquit. 11 in the NFL, Super Bowl winner, Minnesota Vikings punter. And this is the Miller Lite Player Spotlight. Do you like kicking and win games like that last game? Win the games?
It's one of the probably most least favorite things in the history of my world, actually. And I've been in a lot of win games, and I could honestly say that was the worst.
Right.
And that's saying something. I've been in a lot of crazy win games. And I've been in colder games with that same mile per hour, but that was just, you couldn't even figure it out. Oh. It was relentless.
Oh.
It was crazy.
Yeah, a lot of tribulation there, Skullquit. But think about it. The pressure of being a punter in a wind game, especially for a run-first team, holy cow, you were everything on Sunday at Lambeau.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, the offense did their thing. They were unbelievable. And thankfully, I didn't have to be out there until the fourth quarter. Of course, I was going into that win for 3 times, and the fourth quarter is when it really matters. But, man, the numbers weren't pretty at all. And the ball definitely wasn't pretty, but you're just trying to do something, and you're trying to help your team in any way. And obviously feel like I could have gotten some more yards on those, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Well,
I appreciate the knowledge you have.
Okay, I appreciate that. You're an elite football mind. I'm not. How about you saving the day on the extra points way up there? You got Packers because Dalvin broke their spirit. Look at the Packers, hands on their hips. All of that aside, you saved that extra point. But I was worried Bailey was going to pull a hamstring when he had to stop and start again. Were you concerned?
It was the craziest thing ever because it's just in that situation, you're just kind of reacting and hoping for the best. And typically, a kicker's going to bail on that. You've seen it around the league, and I think something it was there, and then he just went. And I know he's not, looking at the rush. He just sees that the ball's there, and I guess he's like, I got to go. And honestly, it was a perfect storm because 10 times out of 10, somebody comes to block that kick, and they didn't come. I guess they were too cold.
Yeah, or a certain Dalvin Cook may have been breaking spirits all day. Hey, Skullquit.
That's what it was.
Speaking of Dalvin with the Miller Lite Player Spotlight, can you imagine what it's like to be Dalvin Cook, middle of the field, and you're shaking people out of their cleats? Can you imagine what that's like?
No, I really can't. I mean, every night in my dreams, I am him, but then I wake up to reality. I don't know. It's crazy. Just a freak athlete and, anomaly. And that's really what this whole league is. And I'm just like you, a regular Joe amongst these freaks. And, so it's a beautiful thing to see. And I can only imagine, But Nash, my son, believes he can be Harrison Smith right now. So yeah. I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
And then, just continue to teach him how to kick and all that. And I'm sure he'll be that one day, but we'll let him think he can be Harrison. But yeah, Dalvin Cook, unbelievable.
Last one, bud. How much longer do you want to play?
As long as God wants me out there, as long as somebody's willing to give me a shot. Honestly, my body feels better than it's ever felt. I'm not just saying that. I feel really good. I feel like I could my short-term goal, my very realistic, I feel like goal is to be able to be in the locker room and tell these young guys that I'm 40 years old. So
yeah.
That'd be about,
but I mean,
5 more years.
Sean Landeta punted for 22 years. So that's the bar, right?
Right. Oh, totally. And see, if I played till I was 40, it would just be like 16 years, I think. So I totally think I could play 20 years. But you just never know. The league is a different league than it was, I think, then. But as long as they'll let me do it.
Colquitt, great job at Lambeau. Seriously speaking, much needed.
Thank you.
Best of luck against those Lions. And Hobie, that's Britton Colquitt, Miller Lite Player Spotlight. Back to you.
Thank you, PA. Still much more to come on Vikings Live. We give you our Vikings keys to victory and take a look at Thursday Night Football. That's next here on Vikings Live.
For Trevor and Flop for Fields, here's the deal. There's a term known as elevator music. Like you get in an elevator and it's Monday, you're going to work, and somebody's like, good morning, how was your weekend? No, it was great. Never long enough. In one ear, out the other. Elevator music. Tank for Trevor, Flop for Fields. Elevator music around here at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center because livelihoods and contracts are at stake. That's why they don't lay down. So beat Detroit with a roar. Get hot, stay hot. Hobie?
All right, PA, thank you. Guys, the Vikings trying to ride the elevator up right now. Time for our Vikings keys to victory. Ron, how can the Vikings keep heading in the right direction as they take on the Lions this weekend?
Well, no matter what quarterback you're going to face, you have to disguise the coverage, but do it simply, meaning go from 2 to man, go from man, run some kind of zone, but you cannot just sit back and let the quarterback figure out the coverage. You do that, you have a good chance of keeping the quarterback at bay.
Courtney?
Yeah, I think that you try to ride this Dalvin Cook train as long as you can. Mike Zimmer wants to be a run-first team. That's what he said. He's finally committing to that. Go for it. Don't necessarily try to get off this winning horse when it's been working for you so well, especially against this run defense, which can't figure out if it wants to go be man-to-man defense. If they're going to play some zone, they take 1 step forward, then take 5 steps back. Ride the hot hand of your running back. That like Paul Allen just said in the words I view, they paid a lot of money this offseason. He's going to be the key to a lot of victories for the Vikings going forward.
And it's Thursday Night Football tonight, and you can play along on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Answer 6 questions about tonight's game, and you could win $25,000 playing the TNF Challenge. Fox Bet Super 6 was developed by a division of Flutter Entertainment in partnership with Fox Sports, a unit of the Fox Corporation. And Thursday Night Football is a rematch of the NFC title game last year, but these two teams, they couldn't be much more different. The Packers taking on the 49ers. Jimmy G and George Kittle both placed on IR today. The Packers dealing with injuries. Who you got tonight?
I'm going to go Packers. I think they are a good team, and Jimmy G got benched or hurt, so he's out. And then you look at the all their running backs are banged up. George Kittle is not completely healthy. I mean, I think the Packers have it.
Yeah, I'm going with Green Bay. Like Ron said, they've got the 49ers are missing 8 players tonight that make up 71% of their yards from scrimmage this season. Remember replacement players? Like, is that still a thing in the NFL? That's what I think the 49ers are using tonight. So, yeah,
Ron,
Aaron Jones, I don't know how much they're going to use him, but I think the Packers do have a better shot here, even though they are dealing with COVID and injuries.
I agree, too, and just because a guy named Aaron Rodgers might be just a little upset about what happened last weekend, losing that game at Lambeau Field, I'll take the Packers, too. All right, that'll do it for us here on Vikings Live tonight. The Fox NFL pregame is coming up right after this. For Ron Johnson, for Courtney Cronin, for Dawn Mitchell and Paul Allen, I'm Hobie Artigue. Thank you very much for joining us here on Vikings Live. We'll see you next time.